Yo guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with another video, and I am here on my Dino a Day review series, and we are onto the Megaloceros. Now, what is the point of this seemingly useless tame? And you'd be shocked to find out that there actually is a huge point to not only the male, but also the female. It's kind of shocking. So, Megaloceros. Now the female, because it has literally zero attack, there is a kind of interesting point about her. Now, she happens to be one of the fastest tames in the game. Arguably, between a few people, they are actually the fastest in the game. Now, a lot of people say it's the Gallimimus, but because this one has the ability to jump and increase the speed, it can absolutely haul. Now, as you can see, it does have some pretty raw speed to it. You can use the jump tactic in order to actually move quite a bit faster as well. Especially if you have the ability to get down a hill. This thing is very, very fast. At least fast land-wise, which is pretty nice. So, take that for what you will. Now, the Megaloceros is very fast, but you're not going to need it for speed purposes. That's just not how it works. Now, the male Megaloceros, on the other hand, is something that is actually really valuable. You want to level up a few points in the stamina, and we'll talk about why you level up health in just a minute, but assuming you want to use this guy as a thatch gathering unit, you're going to level up stamina, a little bit of weight, and a lot of melee damage. Now, this thing has a huge melee capacity. Now, not only that, but he causes a bleeding damage effect. So he actually causes things to take bleed damage over time unless they've changed that, but I don't believe they have in a recent patch. But, so, bleed damage over time, pretty good weight, and decent overall harvesting ability for Thatch. If you didn't know it, he's a Thatch machine. One tree on 1 times 136 Thatch. Not a bad monster. And that's kind of just, what he's capable of. So, can get some pretty good speed built up with his jump attack. And he can continue to harvest while he's in full sprint, which is nice. Even any sort of running, you can kind of just continue to do it. And if you go over to the swamp, he can get you a never-ending supply of thatch, and that's kind of how he is. Now, he also has a really high damage output. I'll show you why that's important. Because when you face something like a Parasaur, 396 damage per hit is not something that's bad to have access to. It's really nice. Now, there you go. He can pretty much shred everything if you've got a high level one. And you can get imprinting on these guys. So it's something that can be very, very useful. Plus that ability to grind. Now, there are 3 real uses for him. One, yes, you're seeing it right now, thatch gathering. That's kind of just, everyone knows about the thatch gathering of this guy. It's the best thatch gatherer in the game. However, he's got 2 other really unique abilities. Now, if you're going to go caving and go get your artifacts and stuff like that, this monster has the ability to cave very, very well. Now, when I say cave, I mean literally bring this thing into the cave, level up some points into melee, and stuff like that, because he'll take all the damage instead of you with good weight, small, very large AoE attack. It's really, really nice. Now, the next thing that I would bring this guy into the cave for, because a lot of people don't know this about the Megaloceros, he takes heavily reduced damage from flying creatures. So let's say you're facing off against the bats of the cave, which is probably the biggest pain in the butt. Everything else has to be on the ground, so most of the time people just aggro them off cliffs and stuff like that. But because bats are airborne creatures, the Megaloceros takes heavily reduced damage from them, which is quite nice. So, caving with the Megaloceros is never a bad idea, especially because you can get that imprint bonus, and these things can turn into absolute units. Now, next thing about the Megaloceros that a lot of people don't realize, this is actually one of the best creatures you can use in the dragon boss fight, and it's because of a glitch. Now, sorry, voice cracked there, but when you have just the dragon there, if you can get the Megaloceros underneath the dragon basically gets stuck on top of him in a falling animation on top of your Megaloceros. And not only that, but he can't attack because the Megaloceros is considered underneath his range. So, the Megaloceros is a very common tame taken into the dragon boss fight because of that ability. So overall, they're actually quite useful. I've seen some people with some pretty cool colored mutated ones, these guys, that do actually a load of damage. Plus that bleed attack, it's actually really nice to see some of the lesser used Tames of Arc, like this guy, being used as a pure damage dealer. Now, there are some really nice saddles for him, and there's some pretty good health. I've seen some health in the 10k, 15k range for these things. So it kind of depends on what you want to make yours into. But in the time it's taken me to make this video, and I haven't even been focusing on getting Thatch, maybe 5 minutes, not even, I've already got, what, almost 2,000 Thatch, and it's taken me almost no time at all. I understand late game people just use their grinders and stuff like that to make Thatch because it gives them XP and all kinds of cool stuff, but early game, this guy for Thatch gathering is really nice because you can just go through an area like this and come back with hundreds, if not thousands, of Thatch in a few seconds. So, pretty easy to use. Overall, a good tame. It has lots of uses, even though a lot of people don't agree with me on it. I prefer these guys for going caving with, just because they have that bleed damage, huge AoE, and take reduced damage from flyers. It's got that ability to fight the dragon really well, and overall, pretty good mount. So, pretty neat. So the Megaloceros, I would say it's up there. I'm going to go ahead and fight a few more things with this guy, because I want to show you some of its capabilities on what it's able to attack. So we're going to go ahead and drop all of its stuff, because it does get encumbered kind of quick, because it has that ability. Oh, there you go, 5,000 Thatch in a matter of seconds. Now, we're going to go ahead and head back over to the swamp zone, because he's got that speed ability. If you can continue to bounce with him, you'll see me kind of like mash my jump button, and he does pick up speed as he goes, so you can get some pretty good escapability. There isn't much in this game that's going to be able to outrun you anyways, so take that for what you own. But at 396 damage per smack, there isn't really anything that can outlast Megaloceros. Now, remember, the female does not have the ability to attack. That's just kind of how it is, because that's how these creatures are set up. But the male can deal some serious output. Now, that bleed damage, don't forget, because over a period of 5-ish seconds, a creature will take 5 to 10% of its damage, and it'll take that initial hit. So it could range in the amount of damage you're actually doing to things. But it can be a very effective tool for shredding pretty much everything. And a lot of people just forget that this guy has that ability. Now, yes, he does take damage, but I mean, I have 0 levels into health, and he's at 1980, so that's not bad. Also, don't forget, because he is a plant eater, he has the ability to eat veggie cakes. So if you were going to try and actually do some things with him that aren't considered normal, make sure you bring some veggie cakes, because it will actually give you a large amount of healing power. But you're seeing me pretty much shred everything. I mean, like I said, 396 damage is not bad. No imprint on this guy either. A lot of people are going to be like, oh, your levels aren't exactly accurate. They might be slightly off, like 1.1 instead of 1, but believe it or not, this guy's attack goes up really high once you get to the higher levels. 0 imprint, and you can easily hit the numbers that I have on this guy in a few mutations. So, that's just, you know, what it is. But there's a racer that just went down. Let's go ahead and check what health it had on it. Oh, really, Sarko? Thank you so much. So, there we go. And I'm stuck. There we go. But you see where I was like kind of stuck falling animation right there? The dragon does that exact same thing on this guy's head, so it kind of just gets stuck forever. So you can just shred the dragon, which is really nice. What was that? That's a snail. You can't really wedge this thing. Oh, there we go. You can actually see me wedge it. So you can pick up a lot of stuff on his horns, and that's kind of the same thing that you try and do with the dragon. You can even do this. I've seen people do it with Rexes before. It's really hard to accomplish, but because they're so fast, you can kind of like get underneath some things and kind of pick them up in the air pretty successfully. So that's kind of just how this guy works. But when it comes to combat, this guy's pretty capable. He's not your meta combat fighter, obviously, but pretty supportive because he has that ability of speed, lots of stamina, and lots of damage output. So he's kind of like a glass cannon, I would say, because you do take a lot of damage from things, but if you can deal damage fast enough to him, it doesn't really matter anyways. I've seen some people do some pretty hilarious things against flyers because RGs and stuff like that, people on RGs get cocky and they want to attack the Megaloceros. But the Megaloceros will just like sit in their grasp and swing a couple of times and the RG is suddenly less than half health. So, pretty cool mount. I like this guy a lot. Pretty much shreds everything. And other than that, you know, hopefully you try and give him a try because that AoE is really nice with him. And he's just a good overall tame. Alright, so other than that, Teach with the Megaloceros. Out.